Hey guys, it's Sylestia again. I just wanted to do another tutorial for you. This one's going to be on stuff you can do from the pet page. So this is one of my little pets. I don't have a name for them. They're just one that's been sitting around in my stable. I chose this particular pet because of level. I haven't used any of their level up points or their proficiency, so I can show you how to use those as well. So if you look here on their information, it tells you the name of the pet, their ID, and who is the owner. It also tells you how old they are and the maturity. So first we'll look here. You can see their genetic filter. This is where you use things like a pet dye or a mutator. So these filters are all the ones that you have in your inventory. So here you see I have amnesia, unlearning, pie, gender swapping, mutators, and pet dyes. If you don't own the item, it's not going to show up here. So say I wanted to use a mutator on this guy. All I would do is select the lesser genetic mutator. And as you see, this says this will add a random, visible, or carry gene or mutation to an empty slot. So there's one little thing about the mutators that you should know. It can only be used on a captured pet. So you can see here, this is a tamed Sylestia. So this is a pet that I've captured, which means I can use a mutator on it. You can only use a mutator on a pet one time. And again, it has to be a tamed Sylestia. It cannot be an exclusive, it cannot be bred, it has to be tamed in order for a mutator to work. You can still use pet dyes on them, but not the mutators. So with mutators you have two options. You have the greater one or the lesser one. The greater one lets you choose which slot you want the design in. So say I wanted this one to have, let's do mutation design 3. And then again, you can select which mutation to get. However, for this guy, I'm going to use a lesser one. So lesser mutator adds a random one. You don't get to choose. You don't get to choose if it's visible or carry. Go ahead and use it now. And you see he doesn't show anything, which means he's got a carried trait. So you see Amazonian is a trait that he got. And now it has this little icon here, which is the mutator icon. That tells you that the pet has been mutated. And that means that they can't be mutated again. So now he has Gene 2 Amazonian. However, since he is tested, which is this little icon right here, that means I can see that. If the pet has not been tested, even if you use the mutator, you'll not be able to see that until they are tested. So if you use a mutator and it doesn't work, check to make sure that the pet's tested. But if it's not tested, if it's got a carried trait, you won't see it. Okay, and then if you want to use a dye, so say you want to use a lesser pet dye, you get to choose which color you want to use. Say you want to do this green color, and you can select which color you want it in, and then use filter. I'm not going to use this one because there's not really anything I want to dye on him. So that's how you use the mutator and the pet dye. And then you see he's level 60. Each time a pet levels up, they get level up points. You get 4 per level. And so to use them, you go to spend level ups, and it'll come up to this little screen here. So here you see how many you have available and how many you have spent. So this one, he's level 60, I haven't spent any of his level up points, and I have 240 available. So let's just put them all into health. You can either type it in or you can press a little plus or minus arrows. So I'm just going to put everything into health. If he's actually like exploration pet, you don't want to do that. You should usually not put everything into health unless he's a tank, and even then you still probably want to put something into agility or dexterity. And then you can just choose which ones you want. Little tidbit on pet battling. I'm going to get a little bit more into detail on this. You don't want to have both strength and intelligence on a pet. You want to put, say, 40 into intelligence and 0 into base strength. So we do 40, 40, maybe 60 here, and 100 in dexterity. This is really random, probably not the best set for a pet. But that's an option. As long as you don't have the strength and intelligence, you're probably good. And then after that, it just depends on what the pet's for, if they're for battling or missions. In this case, I'm going to make this guy a mission pet. So he's going to be for health missions. So I need level 1 of them. So I'll put everything into health because he'll be doing health missions. So then you just save, you can reset it if, then say you change your mind later on. So you spent the 240 and you decide, oh, I don't want him to be a health mission pet anymore. I want to put him on my exploration team. In order to get rid of those, you press the reset button. This does cost gold, but it's the only way to reset the level up points. Okay. So I'll tell you here how much it costs. For him, it would be 960. And if you want to do it, just press confirm, otherwise just press cancel. And you can just close that out by pressing close. This page takes a little bit of time to load. It's the proficiencies page. You want these to basically match up what you are doing with the level up points. There are 6 different trees. There's air, earth, fire, water, light, and shadow. Yeah, light. And so with these, you choose whichever one you want. Certain ones are better for certain things. I've heard air is pretty good for a tank. Earth I've heard is pretty good for a tank. And the rest are pretty good for battle pets. These 2 are also pretty good for tanks. I usually put shadow on my tank, and then air on my strength fighter, fire on my magical fighter. But it really just depends on your preference. Certain ones are better for certain types of pets. There's a lot of guides on the forums if you want to go into more detail on those. I'll probably do another tutorial on that as well. But for this guy, it doesn't really matter what I put in him because he's going to be the health mission pet. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's just do magic. So just put all of it into health for him. And so just to add the points, you just click on the icon. So you can add points to health, you can add points to dexterity. These are the attacks they can learn. So this one at this point he would know fireball and flamethrower. And it kind of gives you an explanation on what that does, and then you can improve those attacks as well. You probably want to start with improving these ones if you can, because they're going to be a little bit more useful. If you change your mind halfway through while you're allotting the points, you can press undo changes. There's no like plus or minus like there was a spend level up, so you'd have to undo all the changes and go back. If you've already saved the points, you can press reset points and that'll reset everything, but again there's a fee associated with that. So go ahead and give him more health, just do a random one, and then when you're done, just save points. Like I said, this guy's going to be a health mission pet, so you probably don't want to put all of it into health. You probably want to stay within the same tree for now since the level cap is so low. You're going to be better off within the same tree so you can get those extra attacks. And then we'll go back to his profile. So now he's got all his proficiency points and level up points allotted to him. So if you want, say we want to name him, you go to this little manage pet icon, and here you can put name pet. So let's just name him Healer, moving simple. And then if you want to set him for a sale, in this first box you put how much you want to sell him for. So say I want to sell him for 1 gold, that's the lowest you can put. You can't put it for free, because if you put 0, it'll make the pet not listed anymore, so you won't be listed for sale. The minimum you can put to have the pet listed for sale is 1. And then under sell to user ID, this is if you have a specific person you want to sell it to. So say I wanted to send it to, I'm just going to put a random person in here. So you just put the ID in there. So that's your user ID, which you can find on your profile page. And so that's the ID of the person you are sending the pet to. And then once they want to pick up the pet, they would have to go to that pet's profile and they'd be able to buy it from you. You can do the same with the breeding fee. The breeding fee also has to be set to at least 1 in order for them to be up for breeding. And then if you want to, like, a certain person to breed to it, just put that right there. And that's how you set the prices. So if you're trying to sell a pet to somebody, like you're trying to give away a pet to a friend, make sure you put that user ID in there, because if you set it to 1 gold, it's probably going to get swiped up pretty quick. People tend to watch the sales, and especially for rarer pets like themed or something like that, it'll probably go pretty quick. So you want to be very careful that you're setting the correct ID and that you're putting an ID in there if you're selling to a specific person. I'm going to go ahead and set him back to 0 because I don't want to sell him. And if you want to set the prices, press set price, otherwise I'm just going to name him so I can set name. And this is just a little warning telling you, reminding you that once you name a pet, that pet is named. There's no way to change it unless you buy a Filter of Amnesia, which is, I believe, a Diamond Shop item, if not it's in the Skill Shop. So there we go, now he has a name. Okay, so he's named now, and some of the other stuff you can do on the profile page is this add to party button. Right now it's grayed out for me because I have a full party, so that adds him to your exploration team. And then the view lineage page is a fairly new feature that they just introduced. This shows you, right down here it would have his parents if he had them, but since he's a tame pet he doesn't have parents. And then the grandparents and the great-grandparents. And then here, these are his children. So you see he has a son and a daughter. Let's see. And then you can just click their page. And see here's his daughter. And here's his son, which I don't believe I have either one anymore. Yeah, these guys I both. I released both of these guys a long time ago. Those are his children. And then if they have any siblings, you can see there. And then you can see who owns him currently. And you can see that he was a tame Sylestia as well. It also tells you what generation he is, so he's first generation. If you go to one of his children, you'll see third generation. And that comes from the oldest generation. So you see her mom, which is also one of my mission pets, had 2 parents, and because of that, it's third generation, even though her dad is only first generation. You also see how inbred they are. Inbreeding occurs if you're breeding, say, a son to his grandmother. That's how you see if they're inbred. It doesn't really do anything if they're inbred currently, but it's something that might happen in the future. Is consequences for that, but for now, there's nothing. It's just personal preference. So here is a link. This takes you to your pet stables. This is a stable, and it brings you straight to the stable and tab that he's in. So you see him right here. And then release Sylestia, it's going to ask you to type in his name. So I would just type in his name here and then press release. Otherwise you can cancel. And then down here in the genetics area, you just see the basic information on him. You see that he's a Sylvorpa, a Sylestia. He's a male, he has 2 children, and he's tamed. And little icons that tell you he's mutated and tested, and then what genes he has. A little tidbit is you'll notice a visible trait is a normal print, a carry trait is italics. So a little extra thing about the pets. So if you click on the image, you get a bigger image. If you right click, you can go to copy image address and just paste it into your thing here. And then it gives you little extra information on this pet. So here you can see the hex codes for each color. And then if you look here, right at the beginning, you see his species. It's a Sylvorpa. You see the breed, the gender, and here's where it gets a little bit interesting. Right here, this GD1 is Gene Design 1. So this is the first gene, so gene 1 section. Here you see it's got BB. That is which trait he has in that slot. So this is the B trait, which is the second trait on the list of traits in that slot, which in the case of the Sylestia is majestic, which I really love. Is one of my favorite genes. And then you see gene design 2 right here, which is NP. The N means that it's carried. So in this case, he has carried of the P trait, which for the Sylestia is Amazonian, and that's in gene design 2. For gene design 3, you see 2 N's. That means that there's no traits, they can't pass anything on. The only thing they can pass on is the lack of a trait. So if I were to breed this guy to someone who has, say, a carried trait in gene 3, there's a possibility, actually let's say that he was bred to somebody who had gene 3 visible. So they'd have, like the BB, they'd have 2 letters, so their children would always have an N, and then they'd have one of these 2 letters, which in this case would have to be a B. So the baby would end up with NB. And then there's also mutation design 1, mutation design 2, and mutation design 3. And then you have the colors starting from the top, the eye color, color 1, color 2, etc. And then right here you have maturity. That is different than right here where it says adult. So you see maturity here equals 648. That is the cap. Pets don't go, most of the time you won't see anything higher than a 648. That's because 648 is an adult. And that's how many hours the pet has been alive. This determines if the pet's an adult or not. So if he's an adult, it's 648. Anything over 648 is going to be adult. Whereas we'll go here. Let's just get to a young pet here. So this one. You see she's just a little hatchling. So let's look at her little URL code here. And that's what they're called, the URL code. You'll see that her maturity is 100. This means that she's been alive for 100 hours. And she's still a hatchling. In order to be considered an adolescent, they need to be 215. So 215 is when you start to see the mutations on them. Let's see. This one would be the closest I have to a hatchling. So here you see 298. So she's just barely an adolescent. And now she's an adolescent here. So once they reach 648, they can breed. And at 215, you can see their mutations. And they'll be fully grown. That's just a little information on the URL code. Let me find. There's another special thing about URL codes that you can look at, which has to do with the traits. So you saw how it said BB, which means that he has majestic. That is a pure trait. So that BB means that you can only pass on the majestic trait. Whereas with this girl, you'll see her gene design 1 has EG. So that's a little bit more interesting than the BB because that tells us that she has what is called a hidden trait. That means that underneath that visible E trait, there's a second trait that she can pass on to her offspring. In this case, the E is regal markings. And for the Nixie, I can't remember what the G is, but if she were to have children, then that G trait could also potentially be passed on to her offspring. So when you breed your pets, the system automatically chooses one of these 2 traits to give to the offspring. So it takes 1 letter from the male and 1 letter from the female. So in this case, you can give the baby either the E trait or the G trait. The E will always be visible over the G. So say she mates with somebody who has E, F. So the E will always come before the F. So say he passes on the F and she passes on the E, the regal markings will be above. So you'll be able to see the regal markings on the offspring. However, if she passes on the G and the other one passes on the F, then the F will be visible, whatever the F is, and the E will be gone. There's a couple possibilities with that. The hidden traits are really useful in breeding projects because you can get traits that you may not think you have in your line that you actually do. They're really nice on like themed pets, etc., where maybe it's a rarer trait that's hard to find, and the lower the letter, the newer the trait. So all the older traits are A's, B's, C's. It's when you get to past that, the C's, D's, E's, F's, that you start to get to newer traits that were only recently released. So yeah, that's a little bit on the pet pages. And you'll see from the hatchery you can move the pet to stables as well. That's a new little button that's added on. So I'll probably do another tutorial later on. But for now, this is what we have. So thank you for watching.